Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wrestle YouTube channel, and I'm here to discuss the second part of the Wednesday night war, and that is, of course, AEW Dynamite. Now, I didn't cover Dynamite last week. I get disenfranchised with it. I don't hate it. I don't simp for WWE as I'm hit up constantly by fat, disgusting trolls, very much like myself. The only difference is that I don't actually troll people, but I get a lot of hate mail, if I'm being honest. And it's a shame, really, because I actually like AEW. And this Dynamite is case in point of what I like to see. Yes, overall, very pleased with what I saw. Now, the show opened with this big, and I mean big, matchup. Shaquille O'Neal tagging with Jade Cargill versus Red Velvet and Cody. Now, I've been quite critical of Cody's wrestling acumen lately. Not because I don't think he's good in the ring. I just don't understand what he's doing as of late. Really bad rivalries, it's really poor segments. Oh, look, we're revealing the gender of our baby. Who fucking cares? Like, don't get me wrong, congratulations on soon becoming a father, but it's not something I want to see on the wrestling show. If anything, I actually like the fact that you have your own personal lives and you keep them to yourself. I'm not going to share any gender reveals with you lot, so why should you share it with me? It's what it is. Some people liked it, some people didn't. But this match, wow. I love Jade Cargill. Instant crush the moment I saw her. She is gorgeous, powerful. What a phenomenal looking human being. This is a woman who, if she turned up in the latest Marvel film as a new superhero that I'm not really clued up on because I'm not a big comic book nerd really, other than obviously X-Men. Shout out to my boy Gambit. Yeah, I'm a nerd. But if she turned up in a film like that, I wouldn't have thought anything else of it. I would have thought, yeah, cool. No, she looks like she's perfectly placed. I'll tell you what, she could play Storm in the new X-Men, and she definitely would not look out of place. What a specimen. She's tagging up with SHAQ, who is quite literally a monster. I know Shaquille O'Neal well. I love my NBA for anyone who knows me personally. I'm a huge Miami Heat fan, and obviously Shaquille O'Neal won a title with the Miami Heat, bringing it back to the 305 with D Wade. And of course, I was kind of rooting for him in a way just because of that. Sometimes it doesn't work, does it? Let's be honest, the crossover can be pretty shitty. But we've seen, particularly in WWE's case actually, a very good number of people prove otherwise. I thought Floyd Mayweather and his interactions with the Big Show were great. Speaking of the Big Show, we'll talk about him in a moment. I thought that Stephen Amell was fantastic, really kicked the door open more for it. And obviously, if you go back in time and look at things like Lawrence Taylor and stuff like that, there's plenty of celebrity involvement. So I didn't take this too seriously. I just sat back and tried to enjoy it. And enjoy it is exactly what I did. I thought Shaquille was fantastic in this match. You know, him and Jade Cargill actually completely outshone Cody and Red Velvet. Really like the look of Red Velvet. She kind of felt like she was plucked from nowhere, but I just loved the match because it was simple. And one thing I've got to give Cody so much love for, you can tell that he had his fingerprints on this match. You can tell that he had set up these spots to make it nice and easy for SHAQ. But to SHAQ's credit, he took a whopper bump going through those tables. Absolutely incredible. And before that, the chops. Oh, we've got ourselves a new Volta on our hands. Those chops were beautiful. But then again, I suppose his hands are quite literally 3 times the size of mine. Just looking at his shoes. I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, I'm always impressed when I see huge men anyway, particularly someone like Omos on Raw, who is just a monster. But this guy is next level, an absolute freak of nature. There was no way of getting around this ultimately. And actually, I thought they booked it perfectly because I feel like Jade Cargill, particularly in a one-on-one match, just from the looks and the specimen of her, she should have beaten Red Velvet. And that's exactly what she did to get the win, right after, of course, that epic table bump. And the one thing I really loved as well, very kayfabe shattering obviously for a lot of you if you're watching, but when Cody goes through the tables with SHAQ, he kind of wraps his arms around him and you can see him sort of saying to him, "You okay, mate? How was that for you?" And I just love that. That's proper professionalism. A good wrestler, particularly if you're wrestling somebody who's not very good in the ring or hasn't been in a ring before. I've obviously, as a rookie, wrestled veterans and they've looked after me just as well. And it's really heartwarming to see. I thought it was so entertaining. I really did. I really actually enjoyed this. Fair play, Dynamite. Fair play, AEW. Would I like to have seen it on pay-per-view? Absolutely. I don't know if that has something to do with the NBA season, because I know Shaquille O'Neal has obviously massive, massive commitments in terms of TNT, TV exposure. But I tell you what, he's a huge celebrity, and I reckon Dynamite's ratings will be through the fucking roof this week. And honestly, I feel like they deserve it. So full credit to them. And I thought, okay, after that, I'm expecting them to give me a load of stuff that maybe isn't to my tastes. Not the case. My two favourite wrestlers in all of AEW, Rey Fenix and PAC. And my favourite faction that nobody else likes, Triángulo de la Muertes, or Death Triangle. Excuse my horrible pronunciation. They flattened a couple of jobbers, and I was very pleased with this because I don't need to see 10-minute matches where everybody's competitive and, oh yeah, everybody gets a good win under their belts. No, actually, this was good. They are world class and they flatten these two scrubs, and that's exactly what I want to see. Great athleticism. Oh, PAC's 450 splash, by the way. Still maintain PAC is the best wrestler in the world. So for all those people saying I hate AEW, obviously not that much because I think they've got the best wrestler in the world. So go figure, really. Loved it. Loved it. Simple, effective, great stuff. And I'll tell you what I really loved, which I wasn't expecting to, was a match involving Marco Stunt. Arguably my favourite match of the night. What's going on, AEW? What are you up to? Have you slipped something in my coffee? No, that's just pure caffeine. And probably the reason why I'm still here. I thought this was fantastic. 6-man tag, Jurassic Express versus FTR and Tully Blanchard. I was excited just to see Tully Blanchard wrestle, to be honest. I'm not that old a man that I remember him in his prime or anything, but obviously I'm old enough to remember when the Four Horsemen was still a fairly big thing in terms of wrestling, and this was just fucking awesome. This really was quite cool, and I like the fact that Marco Stunt was used properly. You know, he was in there to essentially be a patsy so that Tully Blanchard could get some sick moves in. Seeing him do a slingshot suplex again, man, the nostalgia. And by the way, the entrance, wearing the traditional belts. Jim Crockett Jr. passed away last night, and I believe that was done particularly as a tribute, and I even saw them on Twitter talking about how that was for the Crockett family. Just a quality touch. For me, FTR are the best throwback style tag team I've ever seen. I think they're absolutely incredible. You look at FTR and you think, yeah, you boys would have absolutely cleaned up in the old NWA days, Mid-South and stuff like that, Mid-Atlantic. Man, there's so many great promotions from that era, and I would have loved to have seen them wrestle there, and it's just a little bit of a shame, actually, that they're not used a little bit more. But this has been a decent enough rivalry, all kidnapping bullshit aside, and it was great to see Tully Blanchard out there. All the wrestlers look great. I still reiterate, Jungle Boy deserves to be higher up the card, and he showed that in this match. He is such an incredible worker, and he's got a great look. He's young, he's gorgeous, he's handsome, he's got the long flowing hair. The gimmick sucks, though, if I'm being honest. I don't really care for Jurassic Express. When I first saw it, I thought this would be an amazing kids gimmick, and it would be great for cartoons especially. How does Luchasaurus as a character not have his own animated TV series? It's like perfect. Unfortunately, the guy who plays Luchasaurus, although a lovely human being and very intelligent, isn't the most charismatic soul in the world, and I suppose having a mask on probably doesn't help in that regard. But great match. Actually loved it. It was fluid, it was non-stop, but because it had FTR in it and because it had Tully Blanchard in it, it also had the right pacing and didn't get too out of hand. Loved it. Great stuff, AEW. Fantastic 6-man tag, and really getting me more excited for this pay-per-view this weekend, which is of course Revolution. They didn't actually have Kenny Omega or Jon Moxley on the show, and that was okay for me. You know what? I feel like I've been very saturated with Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley lately, so this was actually a really good palate cleanser. Sometimes I'll take you to task if you haven't got your stars on hand, but for this, I had no problem. Paul White makes his on-screen debut for AEW. I didn't care for this segment that much, if I'm being honest. It just felt like an opportunity for them to, you know, shit on WWE, essentially. He comes out, he's got the no more BS. See what he's done there, no more Big Show. Very good. It kind of annoys me a little bit, because all I ever hear from AEW is how, oh, we're not interested in comparisons, we're not interested in competition, particularly their fans, and fair enough, a lot of them genuinely believe that. Nails, a good friend of mine, is an AEW fan, and a wonderful fan at that. But there are a lot of them that are very toxic. There are. And that's the same with WWE, it's the same with any fan base. But I seem to clock most of it from AEW fans. Very rarely do I get WWE fans blowing up my inbox. Just is what it is. But, you know, there were cheap shots taken, and it just kind of feels a bit low rent and a bit boring. And I just think, I don't really care, mate. Am I excited for Paul White on commentary? Absolutely. When he was in WWE, particularly at the back end where I felt like he should be he should have been out of the ring and he should have been retired. I always said that he was very charismatic and would have made a fantastic commentator, so I'm excited for that. But I tell you what I can really do without, and that is Tony Schiavone, who is insufferable. He is the only thing actually that I didn't enjoy about this show at all. He is terrible at his job. He is shit on commentary. He is unbearably obnoxious. He is, he basically acts like the uber smart who thinks he knows better than everybody else. He's essentially a personification of the internet wrestling community. And I know we are all encompassing and all involved in said IWC, but he just takes it to another level. And the way he's out there and fawning over his past glories with Sting as well. I can do without that as well. Sting comes down. Ricky Starks comes out and immediately makes that segment go from a 1-star to a 5-star because he's so good. Now, I love Sting. Sting is, for me, the greatest babyface, period. I am not going to fucking hear it from anyone else. Do not bother atting me. Sting is the all-time greatest babyface. He's better than Hulk Hogan and he's better than John Cena because he was better in ring worker and he could still cut the great fiery babyface promos in his prime. And also he was able to transition from one incredible babyface character to another with a completely different mindset and presentation. That being said, I don't want to see 61-year-old Sting in there. I don't want to see him whooping ass. Also, why is it that a 61-year-old man and a very, very gothic representation of his son are able to kick the ass of 5 people who are presenting themselves somewhat as gangsters? Doesn't really make sense. I didn't hate the segment. I still love seeing Sting do a Stinger Splash. I'm all for a bit of nostalgia, most definitely. I just wish it had been slightly more polished and a little bit less ridiculous. It very much felt like, hey, do you remember watching WCW back in the day? Well, we've still got this. And that was the problem with this segment, was that it catered more to the old school WCW fans. And I used to watch WCW every night on TNT. Every Friday night, it was fantastic. It was on a Friday over here after Cartoon Network. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. I was like fucking 10 years old. But it was so good and I loved it. And I kind of popped a little bit nostalgically, but at the same time, I want to see, guys like Ricky Starks more. I don't want to see Sting as much. And to be honest, I'm hoping after Revolution, that's going to be the case. And he's here to help put over the young talent. So I shall retain a lot of my critiques until after the pay-per-view, which I've got to be honest about. I am very excited to watch. I'm really excited to watch it. I will be paying to watch it. I will be sitting down and watching it. A little bit disappointed it's not on a Saturday night like they normally are. They've moved it to a Sunday. I don't know if that's the case for all their pay-per-views, but I prefer it when it's on a Saturday just because, British, innit? I don't want to be up at 4 a.m. on a Sunday, Sunday night/Monday morning, but it is what it is. I didn't think much of the penultimate matchup. I'll talk about the women's match in a minute because I know I'm going to fawn over that. Max Caster, I love the Acclaimed. And he was wrestling 10 for the Dark Order. Now, it's hard to really diss the Dark Order because of everything that's gone on and John Huber passing. And obviously his son is great, okay? I have no problem with his son. He's very, very amusing. He's obviously a live wire. He's just like his old man. He's not going to take any bullshit. And I think that's very cool. But he is 8 years old. And for me, I can only suspend my disbelief to a certain extent. And every time I see him, I think, that's cute. And the fact that Ten's holding him back, he's like, I'll kick your ass. That's cute. But let's be honest, if he actually tried, he'd die. And of course, they're not going to let him, and that's fine too, but I'd like it if they milked it a little less. I know people are going to disagree with me. I'm probably going to get more hate mail for saying this, but I would like it if he was on TV in a much lesser capacity. I like the fact he's part of the Dark Order, but I'd much rather he was in the background, or maybe on the odd Being the Elite segment where they can kind of control it a bit more. That being said, they don't put him in any immediate danger, so I appreciate that. And I will say AEW has handled this beautifully and magnificently. They deserve a lot of love and a lot of credit for the way they handled that situation and respecting John Huber's wishes. So I have a lot of respect and love for the Khan family for what they did there. I personally am not a huge fan of the Khan family, particularly with all the Republican nonsense and Donald Trump, etc. But I will give credit and love where it is due, frankly. They really do deserve a lot of credit for the way they've handled this. The match, it was all right. When did Scorpio Sky turn heel? If he hasn't, what the fuck is he going on about on commentary? That was one thing that kind of got a little bit over, because I love Scorpio Sky. I think he's amazing. World-class athlete. I love SCU. However, why are you on commentary just relentlessly bang on about how good looking you are and how much better you are than everybody else? That's fine if he's a heel. If he's a face, So someone let me know if he's a heel or a face. If he's a face, I'm taking him to task for that, because frankly, he came across as a massive dickhead. If he's a heel, great job. So, I don't know. Insert edit here. Shall we go for the edit, shall we? Wow. Scorpio Sky, do a better job, mate. You're supposed to be a face. Wow, Scorpio Sky, what a great heel. Is what it is. Now, the women's match, before I talk about the main event, because it didn't really feel like a main event to me, was fucking amazing. Ryo Mizunami, who of course I covered in the first round of the Japanese bracket of the AEW Women's Tournament, versus the great beast herself, Nyla Rose. These two women in the final, and the winner, of course, will face Hikaru Shida this Sunday for the AEW Women's Championship. And of course, they win a trophy as well, which is always nice. Who doesn't love a trophy? Mine's not around here right now, my 2019 CWP Royal Rumble winner, because who isn't going to promote themselves? I mean, if I don't promote myself, nobody else will. I'll find a photo of it somewhere and put it up. There you go. There it is. Isn't it nice? Isn't it shiny? Not as good as hers, obviously. This women's match was great. I loved it. It was fantastic. It was physical. It had all the right pacing as well. And can I just say, Nyla Rose is fucking fantastic and does not get nearly enough coverage, presentation, or exposure from AEW. She should be right near the top of their card. Not only because she is a world-class wrestler, but also because I don't want to make a big thing out of the fact that she's transgender. However, it is such a fucking fantastic thing to see her shining a light on that and also helping to educate viewers, because a lot of the young, ignorant fan base of wrestling, because let's be honest, there is a lot of them, they will have an opportunity to understand her story and really educate themselves as to the choices of what people want in life. But her match, nonetheless, if you're just isolating it from a wrestling standpoint, it was fucking awesome. This should have been the title match for me, because it was that good. I swear down every time I watch AEW Dynamite, Hikaru Shida is on the ringside. Now, do I like seeing Hikaru Shida looking ridiculously fit, wearing a white suit and heels? Absolutely. She looks stunning, but I'd much rather see her wrestle because she's an assassin. By the way, I was talking about that Mortal Kombat movie and how I'd like to see Xia Li in there. Can we have Hikaru Shida in there as well? I think she'd be an absolutely amazing character in Mortal Kombat, wouldn't she? I'd love to see that. Put her in there. She'd be sick, I reckon. Great match. Great match. And a real big upset as well, because it's Ryo Mizunami who's moving on to this Sunday. I imagine a lot of that has to do with the fact that you've paid all that money to get her out there. It's been very difficult to travel, obviously, under current COVID regulations. So they're probably thinking, well, we may as well get our money's worth while you're over here. So it will be her who challenges Shida. I didn't quite understand the end bit when Shida gives her the trophy, and they almost seemed happy to forearm each other. But in a way, I kind of liked it. And I'm sure my boy Tanvir will chime in here. He's a Japanese wrestling expert in his own right, and definitely worth a follow at Verdi_Tanvir on the Twitter. I think it was more of a case of representing their spirit and their strong style by forearming each other. So from that perspective, fair enough. But an amazing match. And again, reiterates my point. More women's wrestling on your main product. It's not that hard. It's really not. And more matches like this, please. Because this was Nyla Rose, mate. MVP. Oh, by the way, Vicky Guerrero, get lost. You're not needed. I know it sounds harsh. I have nothing wrong. I have nothing against Vicky Guerrero, but no point. Nyla Rose can talk so well without a manager, so why does she need Vicky Guerrero in her corner? It just feels like she's been shoehorned in there for a bit of exposure, and I'm not feeling it, man. Honestly, every time she screams or speaks, I just mute the TV. That's how bad her go-away heat is. I don't sit there and think, oh, you fucking bitch. I just think, oh, no, I can't be bothered listening to that, mate. Mute. Pretty much like most people actually do when they're watching these or listening to me. I'm probably shouting into a void at this point, so let's wrap it up with the main event of AEW Dynamite. No idea why this was the main event, although I love seeing Hangman Page. It was your boy Hangman tagging up with his Coke Strong friend, John Silver. Oh, Coke Strong John is back. And they were taking on a tag team of Matt Hardy and Mark Quinn. No idea. Much rather would have had Private Party out there with Matt Hardy being a sneaky beggar. Obviously, Matt Hardy and Hangman Page are facing each other at Revolution. Have zero interest in that match. Do not care unless Hangman Page is going to absolutely waffle in one, because frankly, I don't really care if Matt Hardy goes over at this point. He's done everything he needs to do in his career. Get out of the way. Plus the big money Matt gimmick doesn't work for me. This match was fine. It was fun. But it was only fun, actually, when it was John Silver and Hangman Page doing their stuff. I thought that Mark Quinn, in particular, he was there basically to be a bitch, but he didn't look nearly as impressive or interesting without his partner there, Isaiah Cassidy. That was a shame. Matt Hardy as well. Looks like he's very much on the downslide. He looks like he's taken too many chair shots to the head at this point. I can do without seeing him in anything other than really funny, interesting deletion matches or cinematics. That's what I want to see from Matt Hardy at this point. I've not really got much time for this gimmick. Match wasn't terrible, just not main event caliber. If anything, you should have opened with this and you should have finished with that whopping great Shaquille O'Neal match. But the problem is you can't finish with a heel winning as a go home. Obviously, your boys, Hangman Page and John Silver, pick up the win. Can we just put Hangman with Dark Order? Because I actually quite like it. I think it's kind of cute and kind of sweet. And I love the fact that John Silver's like hugging him. He's like, "You're my friend. I love you." I kind of find it adorable. It reminds me of me and my boy Aaron Cruz. We're a little bit like that at training. And of course, after the match, big schmoz. Classic WCW finish, really. Oh my god, there's so many tag teams out there. Why does Tony Schiavone do that on comms? Oh, he's unbearable. He starts off talking normally, and then he starts to get fired. Oh my god, what's that revolution? Chill out. But nonetheless, fair play, AEW Dynamite. Not perfect, but pretty fucking awesome. I really enjoyed this Dynamite. There you go. You can soundbite that and stop sending me goddamn hate mail because I like AEW and I like a lot of their talents. But can we please keep this kind of consistency? Because this is the kind of show I want to see. And I'm looking forward to Revolution. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, as a cheeky little extra, I'll be dropping some Revolution predictions later in the week, most likely on Saturday. And of course, we will be covering the pay-per-view for the podcast on the YouTube channel and the audio format as well. From myself, Aaron X, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you very soon for more content from that there Wrestle plug.